Experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is mere intellectual play. In law, a man is guilty when he violates the rights of others. In ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing so. Morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. Ingratitude is the essence of vileness. Immaturity is the incapacity to use one's intelligence without the guidance of another. It is beyond a doubt that all our knowledge begins with experience. By a lie, a man annihilates his dignity as a man. Out of timber so crooked as that from which man is made, nothing entirely straight can be carved. It is not necessary that whilst I live happily, but it is necessary that so long as I live I should live honorably. Religion is the recognition of all our duties as divine commands. May you live your life as if the maxim of your actions were to become a universal law. All the interests of my reason, speculative as well as practical, combine in the three following questions. 1. What can I know? 2. What ought I to do? 3. What may I hope? All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is organized life. If a man makes himself a worm, he must not complain when he is trodden on. Always recognize that human individuals are ends, and do not use them as means to your end. What can I know? What ought I to do? What can I hope? Thoughts without content are empty. Intuitions without concepts are blind. Metaphysics is a dark ocean without shores or lighthouse, strewn with many a philosophic wreck. Act that your principle of action might safely be made a law for the whole world. Nothing is divine but what is agreeable to reason. It is not God's will merely that we should be happy, but that we should make ourselves happy. All thought must, directly or indirectly, by way of certain characters, relate ultimately to intuitions, and therefore, with us, to sensibility, because in no other way can an object be given to us. But although all our knowledge begins with experience, it does not follow that it arises from experience. The only objects of practical reason are therefore those of good and evil. For by the former is meant an object necessarily desired according to a principle of reason, by the latter one necessarily shunned, also according to a principle of reason. Two things awe me most, the starry sky above me and the moral law within me. To be is to do. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. We can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. Live your life as though your every act were to become a universal law. Happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination. Seek not the favor of the multitude, it is seldom got by honest and lawful means. But seek the testimony of few, and number not voices, but weigh them. I had therefore to remove knowledge, in order to make room for belief. From such crooked wood as that which man is made of, nothing straight can be fashioned. Intuition and concepts constitute the elements of all our knowledge, so that neither concepts without an intuition in some way corresponding to them, nor intuition without concepts, can yield knowledge. A categorical imperative would be one which represented an action as objectively necessary in itself, without reference to any other purpose. So act that your principle of action might safely be made a law for the whole world. Even philosophers will praise war as ennobling mankind, forgetting the Greek who said, "War is bad in that it begets more evil than it kills. One looking into a puddle sees dirt in it, the other, stars reflected in it. An evil person cannot be happy, for being alone with himself, he remains alone with the villain. Death is most afraid of those people whose life has the greatest value. Act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time that it should become a universal law. Give a person everything that he desires, and at the same moment he will feel that this is not everything. If you punish a child for what is bad and reward for what is good, then he will do good for the sake of profit. The busier we are, the more acutely we feel that we live, the more conscious we are of life. Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made. The freedom to wave your arms ends at the tip of the other person's nose. Character is the ability to act according to principles. Do not treat others as a way to achieve your own goals. Whoever has given up excesses has gotten rid of hardships. Sometimes we have to deny knowledge in order to make room for faith. A person rarely thinks about darkness in the light, about trouble in happiness, in contentment, about suffering and, conversely, always thinks about light in the darkness, about happiness in the trouble, about prosperity in poverty. The reading of all good books is like a conversation with the finest minds of past centuries. Women make even the men more sophisticated. Have the courage to use your own mind, think your own thoughts and live your own life. Man is the only being who needs education. We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. Only he who, himself enlightened, is not afraid of shadows, dare to think. Have the courage to use your own intelligence. Marriage is the union of two people of different sexes with a view to the mutual possession of each other's sexual attributes for the duration of their lives. The death of dogma is the birth of reality. Rules for happiness. Something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. The cheerful expression on the face will gradually be reflected in the inner world. Smile. The ability to ask reasonable questions is a sign of intelligence and discernment. A person can become a person only through education. Every person is what education made him. Humanity is the ability to participate in the fate of other people. The destiny of a woman is to rule, the destiny of a man is to reign, because passion rules, and the mind reigns. It is not thoughts that need to be taught, but thinking. The more habits, the less freedom. The life of people devoted only to pleasure without a reason and without morality has no value. A man is jealous when he loves, a woman, even when she does not love, because the admirers won by other women disappear from the circle of her admirers. What is beautiful is what you like regardless of the meaning. Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is an organized life. You should not fear being refuted. You should fear something else, to be incomprehensible. He who fearfully cares about how not to lose his life, will never rejoice in this life. Children should be brought up not for the present, but for the future. Perhaps a better state of the family. Genius is the ability to independently arrive at and understand concepts that would normally have to be taught by another person. Space and time are framework within which the mind is constrained to construct its experience of reality. man must be disciplined, for he is by nature raw and wild. There is something splendid about innocence, but what is bad about it, in turn, is that it cannot protect itself very well and is easily seduced. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-incurred immaturity. Without man and his potential for moral progress, the whole of reality would be a mere wilderness, a thing in vain, and have no final purpose. Two things fill my mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe, the more often and the more intensely the reflection dwells on them, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. A wise man can change his mind, a fool, never. Only the descent into the hell of self-knowledge can pave the way to godliness. An action, to have moral worth, must be done from duty. If you still have a desire for sex after 40, it means that there is still so much life left to be lived. Simply to acquiesce in skepticism can never suffice to overcome the restlessness of reason. For peace to reign on earth, humans must evolve into new beings who have learned to see the whole. First, beauty presents an indeterminate concept of understanding, the sublime and indeterminate concept of reason.